quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. There's no way. There's no way.
For me, I gotta build a snowman.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
I'm mixing names, swapping pitchers' names, and everyone today. So thanks for catching.
I've given up on Drew Lock. I think you trade him.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
How are we talking about the Thunder in a MLB preview? I have no idea.
That's a perfect name. What you said, name brand players. Like, it's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort. Yeah, this questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach. He's making the best of the Detroit Pistons situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was surprised that the Clippers gave up Lou Williams.
Everything's going wrong for the Lakers at the wrong time.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
Them losing like 40 players to the Chargers who play online.
I'm just gonna, and it lands to the Dolphins. I'm just gonna have to throw my hands into the air.
I agree 100%, and the reason why I agree is because this is a terrible trade for the long term.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season. So happy belated birthday to Madison Bowie.
Sam Bennett's someone I really expected to be a better player.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our 67th episode. Make sure to check out our last episode where we reviewed our second round NHL and the semifinals and gave a preview of the semifinals. Today we will be doing an MLB Power Rankings, and I will let Austin start off with number 30.
Yeah, so at number 30, we have a team that's lost 22 straight road games. That is an impressive feat for a team that not too long ago was in the playoffs. They just traded not too long ago, I think last year, for Madison Bumgarner, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. What have you thought of them so far this season?
Yeah, I think they signed Bumgarner in free agency. I'm not sure if they traded him. Let me see. And then also they have Ketel Marte on a nice team-friendly deal, being $12 million. I don't think they trade him because he's a young star. And then Kelly is a great catcher for them. So they're just in a weird, funky spot. I'm not sure about what they do with Bumgarner. I think I don't see them trading him. But do you have any more thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just a team that is kind of stuck in a rut right now. There's somebody that I definitely anticipated not to be the worst team in their division. I thought the Rockies would take that place, but right now they are not looking all that impressive. But we can move on to number 29, where we have a team that was anticipated to be near the bottom or at the bottom, and that's the Baltimore Orioles. John Means, one of their brightest spots, has been hurt, but Cedric Mullins and other players like Anthony Santander have played well. What have you thought about them so far?
Yeah, Trey Mancini, he's been, I know we're late on this, but it's just been good to see him back in the lineup. And they just picked up Wade LeBlanc, who is a former Ranger as of now. But, and then to backtrack, Madison Bumgarner did sign a 5-year contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks worth $85 million. But back to the Orioles, it's just tough. They have showed some promise, and they're just trying to catch up when they're really behind. So they just got to keep doing some more catching up. But I think we can move on to the next team, and that, of course, is the Pirates, where they have definitely made the news, but not for the right reasons, as they are just making some dumb decisions with Javier Baez escaping two outs and getting it to second. That was just really bad. That's the thing that just comes to mind where I continue to watch him, like just tag the base and he's out. And then he throws it back to the catcher and it's just crazy. What are your thoughts on the Pirates?
Yeah, I mean the Pirates were a team that another team that we anticipated to be near the bottom. I've been impressed with Adam Frazier, their second baseman's play. But yeah, they've been struggling with first base recently. Brian Hayes didn't hit first base on a should have been homer. They could have got out of that squeeze with Javi Baez if they just would have gone to first base, but I guess they just don't, I guess they just don't like it. They're a young team, and you can tell by their mishaps. Uh, Jacob Stallings is a great catcher for them. He's going on a tear right now, but they just can't get wins, and that's the only way you can be successful in this league as an organization. And they're definitely struggling right now, uh, pretty mightily against teams that they should be beating.
Yeah, and they will get some more youth in this upcoming draft as they hold the number one overall pick. And that's just the thing to be looking forward right now if you're a Pirates fan.
Yeah,
Now
but
I think we. What were you going to say?
no, I was gonna say we can go to next, but you got it.
Okay. All right. So I beat you to the punch on that one. But thinking on the same thing. Now we can go to the Royals, who I believe they're atop the league very early, but they've definitely fallen out of favor. The thing that comes to mind is Bobby Witt Jr. He's probably going to come up in the next couple of weeks as he's on a tear, even though he had a controversial mistake as it looks from one angle that I saw, it looks like he touched home plate, but they said he didn't touch home plate, so he didn't get a homer. It was the second one of the night, I think, too, against Cole Winn. But pitching, I don't think has really turned out well as they signed Mike Minor. But hopefully he can turn out in the future. But the main thing is just Bobby Witt coming up and just seeing how he will be in the big leagues. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so the Royals are a team that's 1-9 in their last 10. Um, they've lost six straight. Like you said, they started off well, but right now they just cannot get it together. We have them as last in their division in our power rankings, even though they're third in their division. That's just because of how they've done recently. Everybody in their division is on a win streak of at least one games, and the next closest in their in last 10 is 4-6. While they, like I said, Kansas City's 1-9. So I mean, they're just struggling. Their negative 40 runs against differential is not good, but yeah, they've just struggled. They're another young team. Whit Merrifield's played well, but yeah, I think they're just waiting for Bobby Witt Jr. to come up and breathe some life into that lineup.
Yeah, and the AL Central, even though they're 12 and a half games back, they if they breathe some life, some teams could fall, and then maybe they're in contention for fighting for that spot. That's a far possibility, but it could happen. Now at 26, we have the Colorado Rockies. Trevor Story is about to, I believe he's coming off the IL soon, and he's possibly going to be traded. That's what I think, but because they traded Arenado, so why not trade Story? And I'm sure maybe the Yankees are interested in him because they're having trouble defensively with shortstop. Um, but I'm sure some teams, and that would just give them more younger players because that's what they really need. Um, that's what I think they need because you're not going to get free agents. So just get some younger players and enter the rebuild. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had this disagreement. I'm not too keen on trading Trevor Story because of his age. I really don't think he is over the hedge of his career, and I really don't think that he is near any point where you have to trade him. He's 28. I feel like if you can start a rebuild now in 2, 3 years, he's still 30, 31, and that's still prime and for most MLB players. Um, I do agree with trading Charlie Blackmon, a guy in his mid 30s who's been a cornerstone for that franchise for a long time, but it's really uh, necessary to trade him now as he won't most likely be an instrumental part in their comeback whenever that is. Tapia
Yeah,
has been a great left fielder for them this season, and I'm really impressed by his work. But I mean, they're an organization that just needs a lot more than one player if they're going to come back in this season.
Yeah, you and I have disagreed about Story. I just feel he's gonna be a free agent this upcoming season. So, and I don't see him staying. So, unless you have a good inkling of, oh, he's gonna re-sign him back with us, then okay, it makes sense not to trade him. But I have the feeling he's gonna go. Yeah, I don't want to be stuck here. So that's why I say trade him before he leaves, and you get nothing for him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but yeah, I think we can move on to the next team where we have a team in Minnesota that's really struggled. They won a game against Chapman, got Chapman his first loss uh, when the Yankees went down there, but uh, they've been struggling against most of their teams that they played against. They get down early and they just can't come over the top, and it's really been their pitching. Jay, Happ, and crew have really struggled this year, and it's showing on the standing board.
Yeah, they are 16 games back from first place. So that's that's a lot more games that they have to climb up because I believe you had them winning the division in your way too early, and I think I had them in second.
Yeah, we both had them making the playoffs.
Ooh, so my problem is with Minnesota. If that doesn't, well, it's still early. Didn't the Nationals who won the World Series in 2019? They were like 19-31, or were they 19-41 or something
1931.
like that?
31,
Okay,
yeah, you were right the first time.
sweet. That's rare. Um, and then they won the World Series, so maybe they can pull it, or maybe they sell because I'm sure someone would take Nelson Cruz just for the early decision. But I think we can move on to the next team, and that, of course, is our Texas Rangers. What are your thoughts on the Texas Rangers right now?
Yeah, so the Rangers have been a team that have kept it close a couple times, but they're very inconsistent. They're a team that got destroyed by the Dodgers one day and then 112-1 the next. Uh, I've been impressed by their resiliency this year, but their consistency is really shown to be an issue. Kyle Gibson's been their only really bright spot on pitching, but on offense, Nate Lowe has hit well, and same thing with Nick Solak. But they're just going to need somebody important in this draft to pick up so that they can rebuild for the future.
That's very true. One bright spot is Josh Young, who is in his second game or third game back, hit a homer, and that looked really nice. So he possibly comes up, but I do agree the draft is the biggest thing. It's it's really for me between Leiter or Lawler. I just wonder because one of those people, in my opinion, either Leiter or Lawler is going to be the number one overall pick, and then we'll just take the other guy. I'm not really high on Rocker, but and I'm definitely not high on the catcher because we already have good catchers right now. But that's how I stand by it. But Isaiah Kinner-Falefa has been a really good bright spot. So I think we can move on and go to the Tigers, where they are about 14 games back, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. It's they are in the middle of the stage um, between rebuilding or contention. So, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, wow, I've really been. The Tigers were a team that started off hot. Another team like the Royals that I really thought was going to have a better season than they did. But they really not have any star performances from really anybody. I expected a better season from Nico Goodrum. He hasn't really came up. They also have a couple of rookies that I think have underperformed. Boyd, their pitcher, is pitched like their best pitcher, but I mean that's not anything too special. They're just an organization right now that needs to rebuild as Cabrera continues to age.
Yeah. But Cabrera can be a person to lead the clubhouse. I think we can move on though to the Nationals, where maybe a Yankees target Max Scherzer, even though he just went on the 10-day IL. it's sad because they won the championship and they won the World Series in 2019, but it's difficult because they're really not playing much after Scherzer. The pitching is not as high as it was when they went to the World Series. And then, of course, you have Juan Soto, but everyone else has just got to pick up. So I wonder if they trade Max Scherzer and kind of just quote unquote retool because you do have Juan Soto, but maybe you just need more younger guys. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they Juan Soto is such a great player right now that I would be surprised if they end up going in a direction with a full rebuild. I don't feel like they have to. They have Josh Bell, they have Trey Turner, they have quality players on their team. It's just really a consistency issue. Their bullpen has struggled for the majority of this season. They ended their starting rotation. Strasburg has not played as well as he has in the past. Scherzer was injured last start, so it's just really getting everybody healthy and then making key selections when their time does come in the draft. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them miss the playoffs this year, but they have so many quality players that I don't think they're going to be out of it for way too long.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't think maybe trading Serger does send that message of a full rebuild, but I don't think they go that route. I think it's quote unquote what the Rangers said we're going to retool, but it was kind of like pre-rebuild. I think they would do a better job of saying we traded Serger just so we could get some nice guys that we can bring up really soon and to help with our impact players. But we'll see. And now to number 21, Miami Marlins, who seem to be exiting that rebuild. You have Alcantara. You of course have Jazz Chisholm, and then oh my gosh, he was your favorite name before Jazz Chisholm. Um,
Sixto Sanchez.
why? Yeah, Sixto Sanchez, a great pitcher, and their pitching right now, last time I checked, was 2.45 ERA. So that's good, but you have a lot of young guys. It's gonna take a little bit to teach them, and they're learning those lessons right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of lessons to learn, especially with how young their team is. They have great pitching. It's just health issues. Sixto Sanchez has started his comeback stint after injury, but he still hasn't made it back to the majors, which is concerning, especially as he was probably their best pitcher last season. But they're a young team. They're a team that quote unquote made the playoffs last year. They wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for the weird format. So I don't really count it towards uh, their record in the playoffs. I still think they're undefeated in series. Um, but we'll see what happens this year. I don't think they're a playoff contender this year, even though the division is really tough and that they could definitely turn it around. But in the future, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be crazy for uh, to see them making some deep runs eventually when everybody gets healthy and their older guys get more experience.
Just to step out of the Miami Marlins, talk about the Diamondbacks. Do you want to announce the big news about the Diamondbacks that they just made, or do you not know?
You can tell
Okay.
me.
Okay. So Diamondbacks lose
Oh,
23rd
they just
straight road
yeah,
game.
they just lost 23. I mentioned earlier in the episode that they had lost 22 straight, but during the episode they ended up losing their 23rd straight road game, which is a new
New
mark
MLB
in
record.
futility. Longest road skid in MLB's modern era since 1900. That's impressive.
And it's their 14th game overall losing. So just to go talk about why they're ranked number 30 because they just set history, but in a bad way. It's like when the Rangers allowed Musgrove to make history for the Padres, getting no hit.
Yep.
So, but to brighter pastures, we go to the Mariners, except it's not really brighter pastures because they just had to send down their top prospect who was batting um, point zero
Nine
nine
six.
six.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
it was
that.
9.6. And so not brighter pastures. It was Jared Kalenic, who's the MLB's number 4th overall prospect. So that's tough. But what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean they're a team that's definitely struggling. They're a team that they never have been like a bottom five team recently, but they've always been a below average. Like they're not making playoff runs, they're not making playoff even pushes recently. Um, and they obviously lost Felix Hernandez, their star pitcher, for a number of years. Uh, so they really lost a lot of their ability to make great draft selections because of how low their picks are. They're just kind of stuck in uh, the middle of nowhere where they're not getting great draft picks, but Kalanick's coming up and hopefully he'll be good. But uh, they're a team that definitely needs somebody to overtake their franchise as a star player so that they can get up and to make a playoff push, especially with some teams in their division struggling.
Yeah, that if that division can be blown wide open. And speaking of team within that division, the next team at number 19, of course, is the Angels. Sad to see Mike Trout out, but there is a silver lining as they're playing really well right now, or they're playing well without Trout. So just to goes to think they could do better when Trout comes back. And their last 10 is 6 wins and 4 losses. And a majority of that is just because of Shows Otani really uh, being incredible on the mound and then in the batter's box, as I believe he just hit his 18th home run. What are your thoughts on the Angels?
Yeah, they're a team that definitely should be much higher in the power rankings every year, it seems like. But they're a team that struggled to become a consistent a force. Um, I've been impressed by their ability to consistently come through when it matters, but uh, if it's not a close game, it seems like they get blown out. They're a team with a lot of star talent. Anthony Rendon, you mentioned Shohei Otani. Obviously, Trout's hurt, but that's not an excuse not to win games. Jose Iglesias, their shortstop's really good defensively. Jared Walsh, their first baseman's playing well. Max Stassi, their catcher, just won Player of the Week in the AL. So I mean, they have a lot of players that are playing well. It's just their consistency pitching wise is just not it. If it's not Otani pitching, you really cannot trust anybody, and that's really an issue, especially when you go against teams that can hit very well, as they're going to capitalize on your inability to pitch.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I was wrong. Otani has not hit 18. Well, he has hit 18 home runs, but he's also hit 19. So one more than that. So he's hit 19 home runs in total. So that's just incredible right now. And then I wonder if you know this key tidbit. You mentioned Jared Walsh. Did you know he pitched in AAA? So maybe you put Jared Walsh on the mound and you get Shohei Ohtani times two.
That would be an interesting move. I'd be it would be cool to see that, I guess, but I don't know if they need a second Otani right now because Otani, I mean, he keeps getting hurt. So hopefully he can stay healthy. He's the second best player on this team when Trout is healthy, but Trout's hurt. So I mean, injuries are definitely a concern for a franchise that has a lot of star talent.
Yeah, they probably won't have Jared Walsh pitch. They'll probably look for a pitcher. I'm sure you can always find one on the trade deadline. It's just, are they willing to make it? But now I think we can move on to number 18, where a guy that we sort of know because he went to our same high school, Kyle Mueller, just pitched on the mound for the Braves, which is a good thing for Jesuit alumni and a good thing just for the Braves because they really need pitching. And Freddie Freeman isn't playing as to his MVP form last year, but he will sure heat up. But that's they really need pitching because that really hurt them last year. They had a lot of injuries last year, especially in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Muller, he didn't pitch particularly well, but he didn't get a loss, didn't get a win. He ended up having an at bat where he did strike out, but he did foul a couple pitches off, so he made it interesting. He now becomes the second Jesuit player to be in the MLB currently. There was two before that, Kevin Hart and Michael Holloman, but now there's Josh Bell and Kyle Muller. Two players that are on teams that are definitely underperforming after a couple years ago being very successful. But the Braves are a team that's interesting. They have another team with a lot of star talent that's just not only facing injuries, but they're another team that you can't trust pitching. A lot of injuries have occurred, but pitching has been overall inconsistent, and that's always going to struggle against teams that, like I said, that can hit teams like the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, teams that can get a lot of runs on the board. Um, that's definitely going to cost you, especially if you're playing uh, as a road team, as you don't get to bat last. So if your pitching doesn't come through, you can't hit a walk off or nothing to save yourself.
Another thing is Mike Soroka, who he's taking it week to week in a return to Achilles just to go because he was an All Star in 2019. So that just to your point of not being able to rely on their pitchers because a lot of them are injured, especially Mike Soroka. Now I think we can move on to number 17. We have the Blue Jays, and the leader of home runs is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 22. And then you have Bo Bichette playing well, same with Simeon. And the main thing is they don't have George Springer yet, as he's still coming back from an injury, and they paid him 150 million. So that's a good thing for the Blue Jays, if you are a fan of them, because you're playing so your offense is doing well, and you still don't have a key guy that you got in the offseason. And he will definitely bring some leadership to that young team. What are your thoughts on the Blue Jays?
Yeah, they're a team that's lost back-to-back games against the Yankees and lost 3 straight games overall. They're a team for some reason they struggle at home. Oh wait, that's because they don't play at home. They play in New York. So when they play against the Yankees, they're playing in front of a Yankees crowd. It was interesting. I watched the Yankees game yesterday where the Yankees ended up winning 3-2. Garrett Cole, even after all his substance issues, you could call it, he pitched 8 innings, allowing only 2 runs. He pitched amazing, and the Yankees end up winning. But at the end, you could hear the "Let's Go Yankees" chants, even though it's a home game for Toronto. Uh, it just doesn't feel the same, and I think that's really going to hurt the Blue Jays not to have a home environment. I think in baseball, home fans can definitely add to your team's success and get you pumped up before an at bat or before you are going to pitch or when you're making a play or after you hit a homer can really get you going. But the Blue Jays really don't have a home crowd. They don't even play in Canada right now, so that's really going to hurt them. They're a team that's going to have to overcome not having a home stadium, at least for this year. But like you said, Vladimir Guerrero's playing well. They have a lot of guys playing well. It's another pitching issue, and them not being able to put up runs in bunches. Vlad Guerrero will hit a solo homer, but that's all the runs they score. Or like last night, they scored 2 runs. I think Bo Bichette hit a 2-run homer, but that was it. So I mean, you really struggle to see them continuously put up runs, especially when they need it. They've lost back-to-back games 6-5 and 3-2. It's not like the Yankees are blowing them out of the water, but those are 2 back-to-back losses you could have used against a division rival. And now they're the fourth place in their division. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you mentioned the Yankees crowd. Yankees definitely don't like playing in Rogers Stadium. For I'm pretty sure that's the stadium, right? Or am I thinking of
I think
the
so.
hockey stadium? Um,
The Maple Leafs place is Rogers Center, so
okay,
I think Rogers Stadium. That sounds about right. Rogers is all over Toronto, so
yeah,
I would assume that's right.
yeah, because the Yankees definitely don't like playing up there, so that was another benefit for the Yankees and distracted away from the Blue Jays. But now I think we can move on to number 16, where we have the Yankees. I mentioned shortstop as Gleyber Torres is having trouble, has had some defensive errors, and he's not displaying that power. He only has 3 home runs this season, but he's had COVID, and he's not. He reached his ceiling, or he showcased what he can be in 2017 and 2018, if I believe, when he was just on fire. So that's what Yankees are hoping for. But I don't know if they move him to second and then maybe you get someone else to play shortstop. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the issue is we have the best defensive second baseman in baseball, DJ LeMahieu. And while LeMahieu's not hitting as well as he used to, he's coming back. He's hitting much better now. He's back up to 260s after he almost hit 240s, and last year he batted over 350. So I mean, he's a very, very good batter. And I would rather. There's no other second baseman I'd rather have. Marcus Simeon's playing exceptional. I'd still take DJ, and the difference is defense. DJ is one of the best second basemen defensively that I think I've watched with my own eyes. Second baseman is not normally known for a spot defensively speaking, but DJ is just that. He can play any position in the infield. And right now he's normally playing first base while we have Rougned Odor play second base because Luke Voigt's still out with injury. Uh, and we have so many injuries right now at first base. Chris Gittens, a historically only minor league player, someone who's 27 playing his first MLB game. I believe he hit a home run last night or 2 nights ago. One game. Well, I mean, it was still a homer. We ended up winning the game by 1 run. So either way, he helped us get a win. But injuries are really an issue for the Yankees, and I don't know if I mentioned this before. I think I did, or I don't know if this the episode I got erased. But my teams always seem to get injured. It's a something that it always seems to happen, and that's what's happening right now. Luke Voigt got hurt. Jay Bruce retired. So I mean, all of the first basemen are really having injuries, and so if we're gonna get a shortstop, we would have to move DJ to first base. The issue with that is that means that we take out the player who has led the league the entire league MLB in home runs. He had Luke Voigt at 22 and led the MLB in home runs last year. So I don't really know what we do. I think we keep Glaber at shortstop because third base we have another defensive freak in Gio Urshela, and our DH needs to stay at Giancarlo Stanton so that he can stay healthy. So I really think that he's gonna have to find out a way to stay. Glaber's gonna have to find out a way to stay at shortstop, or we may have to trade him. And I would not want to do that, but I don't see another place he can play unless we decide to put Stanton in left field. But because of Stanton's injury history and his consistent inability to stay on the field, I think we keep Stanton at DH. So I don't know what your thoughts about that are, or we can move on, whatever you feel like.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention one thing. The 27-year-old making his MLB debut. A few months ago, Dolis Garcia made his MLB debut, and he's now he's ninth overall, I believe, in AL All Star voting. So maybe that's what happens to your 27-year-old filling in for first base. But just had to mention a good Rangers thing. Isaiah Kinner for left out, I also think is doing doing well in All Star voting. But I think we can move on to the Phillies, who have a lot of former Yankees. Main one being Didi Gregorius. You also have Girardi, which we've talked about on other power rankings. But they are doing, I believe, actually, I'm looking at the wrong thing. They are doing their second place right now. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're only 5 game backs from the first spot in their division, and it's a thing that they definitely want because they are definitely trying to push in the playoffs. But what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, the Phillies also have Ronald Torreyes. He's another player that used to play for the Yankees. So I mean, the Phillies are really a breeding ground for former Yankees players. But I mean, it's going to be an interesting story because they're a team that's really been inconsistent. Reese Hoskins and Bryce Harper have had good parts of the year and bad parts of the year. But it's really going to come down to pitching like it normally does for every team. If their pitching can stay consistent and Aaron Nola can get some quality starts, I definitely think that they're a team to uh, watch out for. However, they really haven't shown consistent playoff success recently. I don't think they made the playoffs in the last 3 seasons, definitely. So they're definitely someone who does not have the playoff experience, except for players like Didi Gregorius, who went on a lot of runs with the Yankees, especially for players like Bryce Harper, who went on some runs with the Nationals before the Nationals won the championship the year after they got rid of him. So uh, they're definitely a team that needs playoff experience soon. They were on our World Series or bust last year, so I definitely think that they're a team that needs to get some taste of playoff action so that they can take the next step in their development.
Yeah, that's true. Um, they were on our first ever World Series or bust, so they definitely got to get to the playoffs first. Now we can move on to 14. We have the Cardinals. They're a team that's got hit by injuries. Even though I'm sure you're not a fan of them, if you are, we may have to think about this relationship on the podcast. Um, but Jack Flaherty has been injured, but and that's a huge blow. But they of course have Molina, and they are treading water, or they're only 3 games back from the first place team. So if they get Flaherty back, they could really get back to the top as they were earlier in this season. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that we had, like you said, first in our power rankings, but a team that suffered a lot of injuries, especially like you said at pitching with Flaherty. But and it seems like that's a theme now, and I don't know if that's because the league came down. That's what Tyler Glasnow said, who we'll get to soon. He's hurt with the partial UCL tear. A lot of pitchers are blaming the substance regulations on their injuries, and that's an interesting point. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's actually making them have to change how they pitch, but a lot of star pitchers are getting hurt. DeGrom hurt himself again yesterday. Uh, Cole has not been 100% healthy. He's 100% healthy now, but for a while there, he was in and out. Severino for the Yankees under guy I didn't mention. He's been out for a while. He hurt himself again in his first comeback game. So a lot of pitchers are getting hurt, and I don't know whether that's because of uh, their is I don't know because it's the league made it to where they in the middle of the season are making a change in the rules, and that's a suspect thing to do, considering the fact that the MLB Players Association fought for these their rights to have a say in what they're doing, and I don't think that they really did. But I don't know if it's. I think they should just move the mound back if we're gonna have a conversation over pitchers not or being way too dominant. Pitchers forever have had something in their hand to help them grasp the ball. It's a part of the game almost now. Players like Nolan Ryan and Pedro Martinez, I saw in an interview, were talking about it. Pitchers forever have been doing it. I think we moved the mound back a foot or two if it's really an issue about that. But I mean, if you saw, there's still more and more home runs being hit. I think it may be the approach the batters are taking, or I don't really know what's causing this downturn in batting average. Do you think it? What do you think it is? Do you think it's pitching substances? Do you think it's approach at bat, or do you think it's how far the mound is from the plate? What do you think it is?
You actually said what I was going to say is move the mound back. And I was going to talk about injuries as well because that correlates to moving the mound back. People are throwing like 101 miles per hour. Like it's the Mike Grimes interview, I think. He said you have like 5 people now, or maybe I was listening to something else, but he's like he pitched faster than Greg Maddux, and then he's like people just pitch so fast. And then another thing, I'm not sure if he said it, but it was like there are probably 5 people on every MLB roster that can tap 100 easily, and as a pitcher. So I think move the mound back because it's ridiculous. I wonder because you've had more experience with me or at than me is if you had like I think it'd probably take me like 150 chances just to get contact with the ball if a dude's like throwing 98 100 past me because I just can't react that fast.
Well, the
So
thing
that's why I say
is,
move the
Kevin.
mound back.
Sorry to interrupt,
Yeah,
but
no, you're good.
they're always going to be, no matter how far we move the mound back, they're going to be throwing 102. It's just what it looks like at the plate. At the plate, 100 looks like 95 or 93, but 93 when it gets there, if you throw the ball 93, it's getting there at 85. So it's really the difference of when it gets to the plate. So we move it back a foot or two. Chapman's 105-mile-an-hour fastball that he threw his rookie season looks like 98, which is still moving, but it's not looking like 100 when he gets there. And I think that's really the issue is that it's not giving players enough time to hit. But I also think that may be an approach issue for the hitters. All the hitters are trying to do is launch the ball over the fence. It doesn't seem like they're trying to play contact ball. So it's a really interesting question. I really don't believe that substances are the issue because the pitcher still has to pitch and you're still shooting the swing at whatever you swing at. I know hitting is so difficult. I've hit at top levels of baseball, and I know players have talked to me. Like I've talked to Jordan Lawler lately about his at bats and stuff like that. It's really hard to hit a baseball. However, the league has to find out some way to make it more entertaining for the fans, and whatever that means. If that means moving the mound back, sure. But the best pitchers in the game getting injured is not the right way to go about it. If DeGrom continues to get hurt, that's a negative for baseball, even though runs are not going to be scored in the game that DeGrom pitches. So interesting conversation. We'll definitely have a whole. I anticipate this summer or when the season ends, there's going to be something the MLB is going to do about it. But we'll have to hear when that happens. What else?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like they're still gonna be throwing fast, but it just gives them like a half a second more to realize, okay, this is where I think the ball is gonna be, and then just to go on the sticky substances, I think they're doing it halfway in the season because of a marketing issue. You talked about like they're just strikeouts, and that like pitchers are being dominant. The MLB doesn't want that, and they are just like, okay, we got to change something, so they remove they take it out in the middle of the season. I'm not sure how it affects the pitchers because I'm not that. Um, I wonder it. I think it does have an effect, but I don't know what to the extent. And then to the sticky substances, if you follow Trevor Bauer on Twitter, he showed um, rosin mixed with sweat just stays on his hand, and he's like, "Is this a sticky substance? Because this is what the MLB wants." So it's just a tricky thing. And then to your point, one time, Austin, is it looks from what I've heard, the MLB is adding a new baseball to where it's sort of sticky, but also allows to hit hits. So it's an interesting conversation. But I think we can move on to the next team, which is the Reds at number 13. The Reds have some incredible hitters in Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker, as they're both batting above 320. It's almost 100 more. It's just incredible. And their team, if they can get hitters outside of the Reds, then that's something that would really help them, as they are actually above the Cardinals, so they're only 2 games back, and that's just in a wide open NL Central. So that's something to keep an eye on. Sonny Gray is pitching well, but they probably will look for more pitching, as everyone will at the MLB trade deadline. I also think we can move on to the Mets at number 12. And um, Lindor started off not well, as his batting average was at 180, and then now is climbing up to 220. So he's getting there. He's getting used to not being in Cleveland and being in New York, which is a totally different change. So yeah, that's good. But they also have a lot of injuries. Jeff McNeil, um, and then Pete Alonso is back, and he's starting to go on a tear. So when they get their injuries, we've also mentioned DeGrom, but Stroman has done really well for the Mets. So they are incredible. They just need to get back from injuries, and then they'll do really well. Austin, we were talking about the Reds earlier. I want you to name the batting leader right now in average.
Nicholas Castellanos,
Can you name the third
Jesse Winker.
guy? Yeah. So that's just incredible. What are your thoughts on the Reds, on the Reds or the Mets?
Yeah, so the Reds are a team that's really exciting me right now. I hope they make the playoffs. It's been a while since they made it. Joey Votto is not playing like he used to, but he definitely has some hits still in his bat. They're a team that definitely is getting a lot of um, offensive production from their outfielders. Their center fielder is or right fielder is Nicholas Castellanos. I know their left fielder is Jesse Winker. So I mean, their outfield is really giving a lot of production. If Joey Votto can get back into his MVP form when he was hitting over 300, I think they're a dangerous team. Their pitching has been coming through. Sonny Gray's been playing well, and same thing with Luis Castillo. But they're definitely a team I anticipate now to make the playoffs like they did last year when they made the playoffs, quote unquote. But they're definitely heading the right direction.
Yeah, and then the Mets, Lindor is heading in the right direction, as I mentioned again. I know his average is at 220, but it's better than what it was at 180. Um, and then I'm forgetting the pitcher. He's doing well. That they got in that deal from the Mets, from the Canadians. No, not the Canadians, the Indians. Gosh, hockey, baseball, and basketball. It's confusing. But I think we can move on as I'll double check the pitcher that I'm thinking of. Number 11, we got the Brewers, who made an interesting trade. Big leaguer for big leaguers, and that's Willie Adames going to the Brewers for some relief pitching that the Rays will definitely need as Tyler Glasnow goes down. But what are your thoughts on the Brewers?
Yeah, I just got a notification. The Yankees just pulled off the second triple play of 2021, and it was their second triple play of 2021. So they have both this year. That's the first time in Yankees history, and that's a long time that they've had two triple plays in 1 year. But just wanted to mention that real quick.
That's an interesting point you mentioned, Austin, about the triple play. But we'll now talk about Willie Adames, who used to be a friend or foe from for the Yankees. But what are your thoughts about that trade to the Brewers?
Yeah, I mean Tyler Glasnow's injury is definitely going to be uh, a big part in this Rays season, and this trade obviously happened before Glasnow's injury, but it seems like it's going to help. The Rays were a team that needed it, and the Brewers were a team that needed more infielding help. I think the Brewers are definitely going to be contenders in the National League as long as Christian Yelich can make a comeback. He's really struggling right now, but if he can come back to what he used to be just earlier in the season, I definitely anticipate them to be a hard team to beat. What I love about baseball, especially the MLB, is the fact that because only 5 teams make the playoffs, any team can really win the championship. It's not like the NBA, or I won't say NHL because the NHL has so much parity. I think any team can win it anyway. But the NBA, those 6, 7, 8 seeds, especially the 7 and 8 seeds, you're like, they're not going to win. But the 5 seeds in the MLB definitely can, and we saw that with the Nationals, and we've seen that before. But the Brewers are definitely a team that I think could get a 5 seed, could get a maybe a 3 seed if they win their division. And they're definitely a team that once they get to the playoffs, as long as Yelich is playing uh, like he can, they're a team that is definitely going to be dangerous when it comes to playoff time.
And another key thing for the Brewers is Colton Wong, their second baseman, who is great defensively, is injured, and I believe he's about to come back. So that will be a huge boost for them as well. But now I think we can move on to the Cubs, who are tied with the Brewers for the division lead. Or I think the Cubs have the tiebreaker, but they're starting to heat up, and it looks like to be there will be buyers. Maybe they make a trade for Joey Gallo because they want to bring at least one guy back because they do have a lot of free agents this upcoming offseason with Baez, Bryant, and Rizzo. What are your thoughts on the Cubs right now?
Yeah, the Cubs are a team that's really struggled ever since they won the championship back in 2016. Uh, it was a come from behind 3-1 deficit that they had to overcome, but they've really struggled since then to get any continuous playoff success. Now they're trying to overcome that by making sure that they uh, invest in pitching. Their pitching has really done well, even though they traded Yu Darvish. Uh, and it's really, and I mean, they're also, you can tell their experience. So we saw that in the game against the Pirates. The Pirates didn't really know what to do on that play, but Javi Baez kind of outsmarted the entire roster of the Pirates. So I mean, that's it's definitely looking good for a team that's struggled as of recent uh, to get any continuous playoff success. What have you thought?
Yeah, and then we were talking about like players just focusing on strikeouts and hitting it out of the park. Javi Baez has an MLB high 45% strikeout rate this season. And that is tough for him, and it's definitely going to factor into his um, contract negotiations. And it's not really helping, as I believe his home runs total this year um, are not high, as he just hit his 12th and 13th about 2 weeks ago. So definitely not looking good for him, strikeout wise. But if he can fix that, that will really help him. But I think we can move on to the Astros at number 9. you and I both sadly had the Astros winning the American League West, um, but they're starting to heat back up. They're only 2.5 games out of it. The Athletics are up, but Greinke has been incredible. They also have McCullers, and then Altuve is starting to heat up. And there hasn't been a trash can in sight, so it seems legitimate. But one key thing is Carlos Correa. Will he stay? And then Straw is filled in well at the center field spot after losing George Springer in the offseason. What are your thoughts on the Astros?
Yeah, I disagree. There definitely have been some trash cans in sight, but all of them have been in the stands. Uh, People mocking the success of the Astros recently, and I have nothing against it as my Yankees were in direct offense of that trash can usage. But I mean, yeah, they're definitely playing well right now. Greinke has pitched amazing, and he obviously wasn't a part of that 2017 team, so I have some respect for him that I don't think is afforded to the rest of the core of the Astros. But I mean, the Astros were also a team that encouraged Garrett Cole and other pitchers to use substances on their hands. So I mean, there's a lot of interesting
I did not
stories.
know that.
Yeah, that's where Garrett Cole got it from. He was a much better pitcher with the Astros than he was with the Pirates because of that. So there's definitely some interesting stories going around the Astros, but they are playing well, and it's looking like uh, they could contend with the Athletics for that first seed uh, in their division.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make. They also talk about how their analytics is so great. Yeah, I hope no one ever forgets um, what the Astros did because they kind of got off last season having no fans in the stands, and now they're like, it's a year later, so let's forget about it now. But good catch about trash cans in the stands. Um, so and they kind of got a light tap on the wrist from Rob Manfred. But now I think we can move on to the Cleveland Indians, who are playing really well, considering like mentioned they traded away Carrasco and Lindor, and they're playing really well. Ramirez is playing really well for them. Uh, what are your thoughts on the Indians right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that's definitely a lot of people after they traded Lindor thought that they were going to fall off and not really be the same team, and they also traded Clevenger, another great pitcher for them. So they when you trade your star shortstop and one of your best pitchers, it seems like you're going to be a team that struggles. But the Indians have really come out of it, and Jose Ramirez has played amazing at third base. So I've really been impressed with this Indians team. They're definitely looking like a prime contender, especially at the top of the AL.
Yeah, I was definitely one of the people signaling. I'm like, oh, they're just going to rebuild, and they did trade. Well, they didn't trade. They really just hoodwinked the Rangers with the Corey Kluber deal, and they got Manuel Clase, who's playing really well for them. It's a rough day to be a Dallas fan. Rough week or rough year, let's say that. And
Rough
then now
life.
we, well, nah, you got 2011, and then 2021 stars. No, 2020
2020.
stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so it's so rough year, but yeah, it's okay.
I
Now we
know
can
this
move
isn't.
on
I know
to
that
the
one second. I
athletics.
know this isn't a basketball episode, but I just want to gauge your reaction to this fact. Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell are both questionable for Game 6.
Dang it! I hate the Clippers. I hate them so much. Dang it! I dang it, Jazz. That's really gonna hurt my predictions.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
and
okay.
the Sixers' lack of being able to close out a series.
And the Bucks. Dude, I don't know what that offense was, but once again, we've talked NBA and MLB Power Rankings episode. But I think we can move on to the Athletics, where it seems like an even trade, where we traded them Elvis Andrews, and he's not playing to what they had hoped. But Matt Olson, do you want to guess where he is? Number four in, or I just told you the answer. He is at number four with 18 home runs in the home run leaders. So uh, that's good for the Athletics. Hopefully Chapman heats up as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, another impressive thing about Matt Olson is he's one of the best, defensively speaking, first baseman in the league, and now he's just one of the best. In the past, he couldn't hit as well as he is now. And his average isn't all that great, but his ability to hit homers and play well defensively is definitely going to aid the success of the Athletics. And the Athletics are a team that's maybe looking to move. I think they're a team that just wants a new stadium. Ricky Henderson Field's not looking all that great right now, and they may be looking to move outside of Oakland, which would be a really big surprise if that does happen. But it'll be interesting to see if it does. But I mean, the Athletics right now are definitely in prime position to win their division and get a top three seed in the playoffs, and I really think that's all they've set their mind on right now, especially the players.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, and maybe they'll be able to buy their own soda cans if they move out of the stadium. Um, but we'll see. Now we can move on to number 6, the Padres. Their rotation, we mentioned Clevenger, Yu Darvish, Musgrove. They've really bolstered that, and I believe their second baseman is out, or someone's filling in for someone on that team. But if they can get healthy, it looks like if if they're healthy, they could make a push, which is what they want to see after they made a lot of dealings in this past offseason. Oh, I forgot Blake Snell in the rotation. Blake Snell, Musgrove, Yu Darvish, and Clevenger. I believe I counted out 5, but those are their main rotation people. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on the Padres?
Yeah, the Padres are definitely a team to be scared of, but they did lose a series against the Mets. Whether that be because of DeGrom or not DeGrom, I guess we won't know until DeGrom is fully healthy, which seems like never because of how dumb the Mets are as an organization to allow their star pitcher to pitch when he's not fully healthy. But that's you're not supposed to do that, especially with the star
Wow.
pitcher. But they're not the best at making sure that their players can stay healthy. And we're seeing a lot of teams struggle with that all over sports. I mean, we've seen that with the NBA right now. A lot of players have been coming out with injuries when they're being played too much. So I guess
But didn't
trainers around the world are going to need to check their jobs soon if continued star injuries happen all over sports.
didn't you say Garrett Cole though played through injury? So isn't that bad Yankees decision?
Yeah, but Garrett Cole's still healthy right now, unlike DeGrom, who continuously gets hurt. So it's all good.
Maybe it's because he's hitting so well. That could be why he's injured.
Yeah, then don't let him hit. Just only pitch him as a reliever. I don't know. Do something to avoid him being injured.
Well, unlike the Yankees, they have other pitchers that can pitch well past their starter. So,
Aroldis Chapman.
but that's a closer. Like starter, like
That's
outside of
you said.
Garrett
You
Cole,
said.
who do you have in the? No, I meant rotation wise.
Hmm.
Like who else in the rotation?
I like Domingo
Unless,
Herman.
well, yeah, but you can also add Kyle Gibson for the Rangers. Just maybe send us Torres.
Yeah,
I'd be happy with that.
that's a good joke. But if you get Torres, what you can't take Lawler because there's your shortstop.
Well, I can move Torres to second base.
Hmm. And then where do you put Nate?
So
No, Nick Solak. Yeah.
left field.
Hmm. And Kiner Falefa. You just keep him the
Kiner
third base.
Falefa. I can put Kiner Falefa anywhere on the field. I don't have to worry about that.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see. We'll see. But Kyle Gibson, name to keep an eye on. We'll see. But I think we can move on to this is a team we haven't mentioned yet. I gotta make sure I get this audio in for this one. The Red Sox at number 5 in the power rankings, where Austin had some claims for the Red Sox. I agreed with you though. It's just they're doing surprisingly well right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a long season to make or miss the playoffs. We'll have to see what happens for every team in this power rankings. Every team can come back and make the playoffs or come back and miss the playoffs. So we'll see. The Red Sox were a team that beat the Braves in Kyle Muller's first appearance and in an MLB game. But Kyle Muller did not get the loss or anything. The team just lost after the game was tied after he got pulled. But I mean, it's been an impressive season for the Red Sox, who've really come back from where I thought they were. and proven that they're not. They didn't need Mookie Betts as much as I really anticipated that they did. JD Martinez has really played amazing. Uh, Bobby Dalbec, their first baseman, is hitting a lot of homers, and so they're really getting a lot of performance from everywhere around. And the health of some of their players is really coming through. I know that their pitching is really uh, improved from last season where it really struggled, and that's really a key to success after you lose your best player in Mookie Betts.
Yeah, that's true. Alexander Bogarts has been a good shortstop for them, and Nathan Eovaldi has he's coming back and he's doing well for the Red Sox right now. But I think we can move on to number 4, the Dodgers. And the last thing I saw, Cody Bellinger just got. I think he hurt his hamstring, or maybe it was Seager, because Seager's injured with his hand. But someone big got injured. I'm pretty sure it was Bellinger. I'll double check on that. But injuries are a thing that are really hurting them right now, and could, if it keeps up, could harm their chances for a back-to-back World Series. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, injuries really seem like a theme around all sports right now. Like I said, I stopped the episode for a bit to talk about Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley's injuries. We can talk about Kawhi being hurt. We can talk about players for all teams being hurt. It just seems like in some leagues, less can be out for you. What I mean by that is sometimes you can have a sprain and that'll keep you out, but in other sports you can have a broken bone and still be playing. Uh, Kevin, I think knows where I'm headed with that, but in some sports it takes less for you to be out with an injury. It seems like, especially early in the season, it's worth it to take out your best players if they do have a pulled hamstring or something like that, and it's definitely hurting the Dodgers right now, but they are still second in their division to the team that we have first in our power rankings. So
Well, yeah, a little. And then I am correct. Bellinger hamstring is back on the IL. So that's a sad thing for the Dodgers. Number 3, we got the White Sox. They have such a great rotation with Lance Lynn, Lucas Gaelito, and oh my
Carlos
gosh,
Rodon.
yeah, Carlos Rodon, who almost threw a perfect game a few weeks ago. Um, and then they are just doing well in their division as they are leading the AL Central. So, what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean the White Sox were definitely a team that we anticipated being at the top, unlike the first place team in the power rankings. A team that we anticipated being at or near the top of the power rankings. The White Sox are definitely a contender, and right now they're definitely I would say even though we have a AL team above them, the best team in the AL is the White Sox, and that's because of injury issues with the team above them. So I would take the White Sox over the second place team, but we're gonna have to see how that second place team deals with their injuries, and we really haven't had enough time to see how that's gonna work out. So we have the White Sox, at 3. But like you said, their rotation is amazing. Yerman Mercedes, their rookie catcher, has been playing well. So I've really been impressed by the majority of their roster. They faced a couple injuries. How do you say that guy's name? Nick Madrigal? Can
Oh,
you start to
Madrigal, the
Madrigal?
second base.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
second
got
baseman.
hurt. He hurt his knee and may be out for the rest of the season. We'll have to see what happens. But he was a rookie that was pitching, or not pitching, obviously, but hitting very well. He was hitting over 300 and was playing very well. But injuries are really hurting everybody at the top right now, and we'll have to see how each team adjusts to influence their chances at a World Series ring.
Yeah, he had season-ending surgery. He's out for the season.
That's what
Did
I
you say
heard.
that?
Yeah,
Oh,
I said
okay.
that he may be out for the season. Because I heard that he may have surgery or may not have surgery. So it's definitely now that he's had
Ooh,
surgery and will be out for the year, and that's definitely going to impact uh, their hitting because Madrigal, I'm 99% sure was hitting over 300 and was playing very well. So that definitely is
let
going to
me.
harm their ability for success.
I'll Google that. But he tore. Apparently, he tore his hamstring, and which
That
is
is that
why.
like the Victor Oladipo injury, basically.
Yes, I
Except I think
guess
he
so.
ruptured it. I think a rupture is the same as a tear, basically, but he like
Okay, yeah, it was like
hurt it really.
surgery. So it's probably debating like, do I have surgery to fix the hamstring or do I just let it heal? Which I'm not sure if that would happen. I don't know how that works. I'm not a doctor. When we get a doctor on this podcast, we'll ask him. And then, do you think best rotation in the AL or best rotation in baseball for the White Sox?
Healthy, best rotation. If we're not including health, I'd probably say the Mets because DeGrom is just that good, and they also have Marcus Stroman pitching well, and they also have other guys in the rotation that are pitching well. Uh, but healthy because DeGrom's hurt right now, I would definitely say yes. I agree.
And
But
then
if
Noah
DeGrom
Syndergaard.
is, say again.
Noah Syndergaard, I think, is trying to make his way back up after.
Yeah,
Didn't he
yeah,
have
yes.
another Tommy John?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of injury issues with the Mets, and I really think that's going to get their trainer fired. But we'll have to see what happens there. And like I
Yeah.
was saying, Madrigal is hitting above 300, 305. I was right. To be expected nowadays. But
No, yeah, to be expected.
uh, yeah, and that's really going to be hurt. They were a team that's mostly they got power hitters now in their lineup, besides guys like Adam Eaton. But they also have an injury with their center fielder, and his name is what's his name? 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 It's Luis. Is it Luis? Luis something?
I thought
Center
it was
fielder.
Eaton.
No,
I
Adam
thought it was
Eaton's the
Eaton.
right fielder. Uh,
Let me look it up.
I got it. I got it. Uh,
Luis Robert.
yep. I knew it was Luis. I
I
just couldn't
beat
remember his
you.
last name. He got hurt, right? Is he still hurt? Can you check?
Let me look it up. Okay. Showcasing my research skills. Or on Yeah, he injured his hip when running out an infield single.
Yeah.
That was May 7th though.
Yeah. Is he still
Oh,
out?
ooh. In May. Oh, it was a complete tear of his hip flexor back in May.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think he's still out. I'm 99% sure
Yeah,
Luis
he's still
Roberts.
out.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of
That
injuries
was
going around.
update was on June 1st. So,
Yeah.
it's rough.
Luis Roberts also one of their best hitters. So I mean, injuries are really plaguing them in the field. Unlike the other team we have next, it's more plaguing their pitching. So uh, next we have the Tampa Bay Rays at number 2, a team that, like we said, has Tyler Glasnow out for a substantial time. I don't know if it's going to be a season ending or not, and if it's not, I think that probably saves your World Series chances. Because I think every team needs a dominant starter to have a chance of winning a World Series, at least one. But uh, they also have Shane McClanahan, if that's how you say that, who's an upcoming starter for the Rays, who's pitching well, a lefty. And I've really been impressed by the rotation besides Glass now, and that's really why they're so high.
Rich Hill has been good for their rotation.
Yes, he has.
He's a guy that signed up, and then I believe they also signed Chris Archer, and that's true. So tough thing with Tyler Glass now because he is opting not to do surgery and seeing if it can heal on his own. So that's an interesting thing, but it'll be interesting because I think he's had Tommy John once, or am I thinking of the wrong pitcher?
That could have happened. I can't remember really, but it is a partial tear, so there's the potential that it comes back and that he can pitch at the end of the season and then get surgery mid-season. I mean uh mid break or right after the playoffs end, he can get surgery and hopefully that he can come back by next season in the playoffs. Like I was saying, Shane McClanahan is a lefty pitcher. He's a rookie pitcher. He's pitching well in 9 starts. He's a 4.42 ERA and has a 2-2 record. And like you mentioned, Rich Hill is pitching very, very well, especially at his advanced age for a pitcher. But I mean, I still think they have a chance, especially if Glasnow can come back for the playoffs. But right now we have him at 2. And his team at number 1 is really impressing. Do you want to mention?
I'm not saying that name. It's been too much of a hard week just in Dallas, so you can say them.
Yeah, they're a team that has won 3 championships more than the Rangers in just the 2010s. Uh, and now we're into
Oh, they won a
2020s.
championship in 2010. Oh, did the Yankees do that? Oh, wait, they didn't.
We don't
Ooh.
talk about the 2010s because the 2010s had the Astros, and if the Astros didn't happen, the Yankees would have won in 2017 over the
But the
Dodgers.
Giants would still beat y'all, though, because they have two more than y'all.
Yeah, what I don't think you heard my point. The San Francisco Giants have three more in the 2010s than the Rangers have in their entire history. So yeah, that really proves the point. And now the Giants are trying to second their success in the 2010s by winning three more in the 2020s. So we'll see if they can do that feat as they try to get their first this year. Mike Yastrzemski's played very well. Buster Posey's one of the best catchers in the league. Again, Kevin Gausman, their starting pitcher, is pitching amazing, and they're just an all around great team. Brandon Crawford, one of the best shortstop defensively speaking, is also hitting really well right now, and that's really aiding their success. And they were down 8-1, I believe, against the Diamondbacks, and ended up winning that game 9-8 in extras or something like that. Some crazy game where they were down 7 and ended up beating the Diamondbacks because the Diamondbacks suck right now. Sorry, all Diamondback fans, but they've lost now 23 straight road games, and that's pretty bad. So, what are your thoughts about the Giants this year?
Yeah, it looks like Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford found the fountain of youth. I wonder if we could give that to Michael Young, Beltray, Pudge, um, Nolan Ryan, GM and pitcher for the Rangers at the same time. But they really have done really well. And that's and then I believe Hunter Pence is no longer with them, correct?
Yes,
Or is he
Hunter
still with
Pence
them?
was on the team, I believe, last year, but he also, I think, got hurt. But he I think retired after last season.
Okay, so not the entire new guard, but Buster Posey and Brendan Crawford, like you said, doing really well, and they're really teaching these young guys how to play, and that's why we have them at number one because the people that were instrumental in their win in 2010 are still doing it once again here, and it will be interesting to see how long they can stay at this top, as you and I didn't have them this high. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to mention the fact that Buster Posey is hitting 337 and that Brandon Crawford is leading the team in runs, home runs, and RBIs. So their team is being led by older players, and that sometimes works in baseball. They did find that fountain of youth, unlike the Rangers players who at the end of their season couldn't do anything. Uh, while Brandon Crawford and Buster Posey are trying to lead their older team to victory. The Giants, like I said, have won 3 championships, and ever since the Rangers lost in 2011 against the Cardinals, they haven't done much. I remember losing; they get swept in 2017 against the Blue Jays in the ALDS, and since
The
then they
main
haven't won
thing
a
is
playoff game.
2015 though. 2015 though was like the last time we fought for something. I blame that run, like 2015, 2017, for why we are here right now. Because John Daniels was like, hey, Lucroy, ooh, what do you want for him? And then we traded you Dylan Tate, but then you traded Dylan Tate to the to the Orioles.
Yeah,
So didn't we get, oh, who's that center fielder? Wasn't it Carlos Beltran? That's who we got, I think, from y'all, the center fielder.
maybe. I know Carlos Beltran was a player on that 2017 Astros team that cheated. That
And
definitely
then
did not.
didn't he become the manager for the Mets?
He did,
And
and
then
then
he
he
got
got
fired from
fired.
there.
Yeah, because he cheated. Honestly, I don't know if I said this before, but I think every member of the 2017 Astros should be banned, life ban.
They shouldn't have the World Series ring. Like it should just be
At the
blank.
very least, they shouldn't have the World Series ring, and at the most, all of them should be banned. It's
Well,
cheating, and it's cheating
oh
at
yeah.
the nth degree. You cannot cheat more than what they did. They literally were telling their batters what the pitcher was throwing.
Don't forget the little buzzer under the jersey.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's in
that's
2019. We can't even talk about that because again, it always happens against the Yankees.
no,
But
no. He had the stinger when he hit the game-winning home run off, or rolled his Chapman, and then he's saying, "Don't touch my jersey. Don't take it off." Because
yeah,
and then he
yeah, that
went
was in
straight to the
2019
dugout.
though. So
I thought it was in 2017 when he hit the
no, that was in
game-winning home run.
2019. That was in 2019. Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, that was in 2019. But
Okay.
there's been a lot of heartbreak when it comes to Yankees versus Astros. and I've lost all respect for everybody that's from that 2017 organization, except for Mike Fires because he really brought it out. He was on that team, but he ended up saying that they were all cheating and all that. So I have some respect for him coming out and saying all that stuff. Garrett Cole wasn't on that 2017 Astros team, so I have a lot of respect for Garrett Cole. He's pitched very well, and I don't believe it's his fault for the substance abuse stuff. And when I say substance abuse, people think PEDs, but I'm talking about the stuff on his hands, substances on
Spider
his hand.
Tech or
Yeah,
Spider Tech.
Spider Tech. Yeah,
I want to
but
mess with that stuff just to see how crazy it is.
yeah, maybe I can pitch.
Be
But
crazy.
yeah, I just blame the Astros organization. If that never happened and the 2017 Yankees end up winning the championship, I mean, it would have been great. But even if we don't, even if the Dodgers win the championship, I'm fine. As long as it's not a cheating organization winning, I can live with it. It's just hard to look back. Like I think wouldn't it make it compoundingly worse if the Cardinals had cheated to beat the Rangers in 7
Oh
games?
yes, without
Yes.
a doubt.
Yeah,
That give
you
me
would.
some hope. Yeah, they cheated. That's why they lost, not because of Nelson Cruz. That's
We were only 1 out away.
yeah. What happened to the Chicago Black Sox? They're still playing. Oh wait, they're not no longer a team because they cheated.
Well, no, it's the Chicago White Sox, but they're called the Chicago Black Sox because it darkened their record, and then everybody on that 1919 White Sox team got canceled. If we want to use a current form of word usage, like they actually got banned from ever playing in the MLB again, which I
Yeah,
honestly think should have happened to Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, and everybody who was on that 2017 team except for Mike Fiers. So
yeah, yeah. It's it. I'm sorry if you're an Astros fan for many reasons, and they didn't have cheat. You would have been well. You would have been good if
yeah,
you
they
hadn't
would have been
cheated.
really good. They just would have been worse than the Yankees and the Dodgers.
Oh yeah, you never know. But that concludes our episode. Maybe longest ever in Outsiders Opinions history. I don't know. I'm not good at math. But make sure to check out our next episode. We've reviewed an NBA, but we kind of forgot about the NHL. So we're going to review our NHL standings way too early predictions. So that will be a fun way to look at it. So thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions, and make sure to check out our bonus episode. I forgot we predicted a lot of things, including our basketball enthusiast predicted the rookie of the year. So, and he made some excellent points. So make sure to check that out. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.